Hello. Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm gonna sort out the sound so there's no echo. So we've seen a pretty nasty pullback, haven't we? One of the things that we can say, you know, when you see 10,000, when you lose $10,000 in your price and you're only, you know, at 50 something, that can be pretty scary when it happens so quickly. I've got my Bitstamp chart up because I just want to point out that this is very similar to, let me turn this down a bit. This is very similar to what we saw in the big, you know, final rally of 2017. If we look at what we did in May, you know, we the next day almost. So actually, this is in 2019, isn't it? When we were rallying in 2017, we would see really sharp down days like today. You know, here we dropped from 16,500 all the way down to where did we get to on that first day? 13,000. So, you know, we dropped 30%, and then carried on. You know, we did retest the low, and we should remember, when we look at this sharp bounce, we should remember that most corrections are 3 waves. And so far, we've only had 1 drop and 1 bounce. So at some point, we are going to have another push lower when this finishes going up. Before the correction is over and we continue. The problem is, though, when it's really bullish, sometimes corrections can get a bit funky. So normally you'd have a rally and a sort of 3-wave correction. That's, you know, kind of normal looking one, and up you go again. But sometimes they get really bullish, so you'll double top and the second one will only be 61.8 of the first one, and you'll carry on. You know, whilst it's so bullish, we could very easily see a correction like that. What we could also see is a rally, a correction high, the shallow one, and it doesn't even look like we've made a correction at all, but we have. In fact, that's what we did here, wasn't it, in this shallow correction at the big 48,000 level that I thought would be such important resistance. So here we are, we're still going higher. As far as I'm concerned, as long as we stay above this big resistance zone that I had at 48,500, we're still on our way to 76,000. I know that there are some interim levels, and I thought I'd talk about how I can, as you know, Elliott Wave is not my number one thing, but I will tell you how I'm counting this and why I think we've got further to go. So although I think we'll see a bounce and then one more push lower before we go up again, this is where I think we're at. So if I measure from if we start from the March 2020 low, which was this was that COVID sell-off, then I think we finished our wave 1 in August. Wave 2 was an ABC, which we finished in September, bottomed in September. And here I still think we're in this big wave 3. So, yeah, I still think we're in this big wave 3, if you like. So this was our wave 2. I think that our wave, this was our 1, 2, 1 of 3, 2 of 3. This is 3 of 3, 4 of 3, and we're still doing wave 5 of 3. That's where I think we're at. And I think that potentially we have started wave 4 of this wave 5. So we've got one more push higher before we finish wave 3 and we see a bigger pullback again. So that's where I think we're at. As long as we hold above 48,500, I think that we should see mid 60s. So for me, 63,000, where we are going to be at a kind of a 3.618 level. Around there, I think is where we would top out. So if we stay here, then that's what I'm looking for. So I lost my train of thought. Okay, so today, you know, we saw a very similar pattern in stock indexes. So it looked like the S&P had broken support. It looked like a head and shoulders top. We broke down a little bit, and it ended up just being an ABC correction, and we've bounced all the way up to recover that support. This, you know, it's frustrating as heck when it drops down like this and it bounces so fast. But, you know, there's nothing you can do except set alarms, unfortunately. So, and remember, this is the hardest thing to do. When you see, if it's the first big swing lower, just say to yourself, corrections are normally 3 waves. And I have to sit on my hands sometimes, but selling the lows, sometimes it's just so not clever, and so frustrating when you do. So, I've been feeling for some time, it's annoying because I felt last week like we were close to a high and we just kept squeezing higher and squeezing higher. So I don't think that this is the high. I do think that we'll continue higher from here, but I don't think we're going to go in a straight line. So we're going to bounce and we're going to do a pullback, but I don't know where that will be. So let's talk about where that might be. Now, this is an hourly chart of the price that we've looked at today in Bitcoin. Okay, so if we put our fibs on from this high to this low, here in the middle, and let's make them nice and dark, because we've done that 61.8, 38.2 thing here in the middle. Okay, so that means that our first rally bounce was to the 61.8 level. We pulled back perfectly to the 38.2, crossed back above the 15, so we're on next leg up. Now, if we stop then at the 786, we have what's called a bearish Gartley pattern. And if this swing and this swing have a fib relationship, in other words, this second swing is 61.8 of the first swing, it's a pretty reliable Gartley pattern. And I think if we turn there's a good chance that we come all the way back to the lows and retest the lows or pretty close. So that's going to be between 55,700 and 56,000. That's our bearish Gartley reversal zone. So watch here. If we push above 56,000, we'll do that typical Bitcoin thing where we go all the way back and retest the highs. If not, make a marginal new high. So first upside resistance zone at 57,000. Now let's reverse this and put this the other way. So if we imagine this was our first swing lower, and if we turn lower from there, where would we then be looking for on the downside for this next swing? All the way back down to 49,000 on this next swing. If we come up and we retest the highs, we would come back and we would retest this 51,600 at a minimum. If we make a new high, we'll just keep moving it up. Remember this third swing of correction, so we go 1, 2, 3, at a minimum should be 61.8 of the first one. And sometimes they really do squeeze high, like for example here, when we did this correction around 48,000, which I thought was a really big level. Here we went down with an ABC, and we did so that our correction ended up looking like this. So we went A, and then we went B, and this swing was 61.8 of this swing, and then we went C, and this swing was 61.8 of this swing. And so this is where we started our count again, correction over. And so that's what I mean about sometimes they don't look like they give you any pullback at all when people just keep buying the dips. And so because it's so squeezy, I think that we could be in that scenario. So that's what I'm looking for in Bitcoin. And for this next swing up, I think that we, let me put on, where's that? 61.8 from here. I don't think this will be it, but yeah, I'm looking for sort of 63,000. Now, if we did that, and then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we rally and pull back to that 51,000 level. So, how am I trading this? Well, I did buy some on the dip. I got stopped out, obviously. I bought some on the dip. I got stopped out on Elon's comments yesterday, which were really annoying. There isn't anybody that can put a valuation on Bitcoin. Lots of people try to put a valuation on Bitcoin, but, it's worth what people are willing to pay for it. And a lot of people are coming into Bitcoin and not looking at the price. For example, the last hedge fund, macro hedge fund that I worked at, my old boss there has decided, you know, having never touched Bitcoin, decided this week to buy 120 Bitcoin. And what's he going to do with them? He's going to loan them out. He doesn't care whether the price goes up or down. He cares that he gets a return lending them out, and that's all he's doing it for. He's not going to sell it if it goes down, and he's not, you know, going to sell some if it goes up, and he's not going to buy more if it goes down. He just wants to loan them out and get a return that way. So, you know, that's what we're looking. David Corden says, have you linked the top from 2013 and 2017? It makes about 36k for the lowest bull. No, I haven't though, David Corden. Thank you. I will look at that. So let's put a weekly on. Log scale. Have I linked the top from 2013 and 2017? Okay, so that would be here to here. Okay. Gosh, that makes it, yeah, 36k. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, 30k. Like, I always thought, you know, anyway, we haven't run out of, we're still in a big wave 3, you know, and I don't think that we're going to finish that before 75,000. And potentially we could go all the way to, yeah, 108, you know, there's no limit really. And not only that, we haven't started wave 5s. Wave 5s can extend a really long way. So that's where I'm looking for short term and long term in Bitcoin. As long as we stay above 48,500, no damage to the downtrend, we just pull back to the hourly, to the daily 20 moving average, found our feet, and we're on our way up again. And if you go back to previous trends in Bitcoin, look at what amazing support this daily 20 moving average has been. And if you go back to 2017, again, it was amazing support here. Every time we pull back to this 20 moving average, up we go. You know, it's like your best friend in terms of trend, I think. The king of the trend, of course, is a 200 moving average. So, still looking higher today for Bitcoin. I'm going to move on to ETH and ETH dollar, because we're going to do the same thing. Now, I feel like we potentially are in a little bit of a different place when I count ETH. And so I feel this is a wave 1, 2, 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 3. And I feel like we might have finished wave 3 of 3 here. So we're working on a wave 4. This is a weekly chart. If we look at how long wave 2 took, it took 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 weeks. Very often waves 2 and 4 are equal in time if they're not equal in price. And so it may be that we have a little bit of sideways trading in ETH US dollar for a wave 4. Wave 4s are very often kind of and I can also here count 5 waves up. So wave 4s very often don't pull back more than the 38.2 or the 50%. We haven't come back that far yet. In fact, we haven't even tagged the 236, the first pullback. So that's quite nice sideways consolidation. I think if we did pull back to that ideal 38.2, it would be 1381 in ETH. So but the 236 so far we're holding it at 1633. In terms of our trend though, you know, we're going to close back above this daily 20 moving average, and so it's entirely possible that we are not done here at this high in ETH, and this is not the wave 4 that I think it is, and that we, you know, keep going higher from here, and that, you know, wouldn't be a surprise at all if we do. Then 3,000, I know this high was 2,000. I see the next high for ETH at 3,050, 3,047. So we keep buying the dips, and that's, you know, all you can do. Now, if we look at the bounce and how we recovered here, this is why for me it doesn't quite look as healthy as the bounce in Bitcoin, does it? It's definitely lagging. if we look, we are about to hit that 50% level. So we're climbing our way back up. I put my fibs on both swings like this, ABC. We paused, this was the 236, we smashed through it. Here's the 50% again. We bounced to it the first time. We pull back 50%. That's very common in a correction. In fact, a rally back to the 50% is very common in a correction as well. And then, you know, if we close above 1774, then short term in ETH, we can look up to 1837 and so on. Very often, if your first swing is to a 50%, what you end up making is a bat pattern. So here's our first swing, 50%, and we pull back. So if we were to make two equal swings higher here in ETH, our upside target would be 1920. Now that probably lines up with the 786 as well. Again, it does. So 1817 is our first upside resistance next in ETH US dollar, and then 1920. Those are the two potential resistance levels that I'm looking for, where this rally or bounce, if you like, might run out of steam and we start our pullback. But, you know, still above that 20 moving average, no damage to the daily trend. I wouldn't assume that we've got a high in place yet until we have, you know, and we've got a proper reversal, and we just really aren't there yet. Okay, let's take a quick look at ETH Bitcoin. As you know, because I've been quite optimistic that ETH Bitcoin might have been making a big bottom, it's pretty clear that we're not at the moment, and we're not yet in a, you know, I was looking at this as a pretty nice bottoming pattern, but we failed really at the 236 fib, and now we're in a big retrace. So I'm going to go all the way back to these lows, and we'll look at the levels like this and say 50% back, you know, where we might find our feet. We've got a little bit further to fall. We've lost the weekly 20 moving average today, and so 50% back next. Again, 0.031165. That would be where I would be looking for next support for ETH Bitcoin. So still further to fall, unfortunately, in this one. Somehow, I've switched to live chat now. Lee Sam says, some TAs like Peter Brandt have mentioned Bitcoin is in a parabolic advance. Peter Brandt is a very, very smart technical analyst, and I agree with him. We're in that acceleration phase, and you know, wave threes that we're in feel like this. They feel like scary, volatile, and they keep going up when you think it can't go up anymore, and the pullbacks are really sharp and over really quickly. So this is you know, and it's not over till it's over. And I don't think we started the wave 5, and they can extend a really long way. So I definitely agree with him. And it's good to see him back. You know, Peter Brandt got very sick with COVID. I'm really glad that he's recovering and back around, because he has wise words usually. Okay, so for me, ETH Bitcoin has a little bit further to fall, so I wouldn't be moving too much Bitcoin into ETH just yet. But hopefully, if we can see a bounce soon, then potentially we can turn that around. So everything has taken a little bit of a hit today, hasn't it? I'm going to start with ADA. I'm going to start against Bitcoin, because if we look at ADA Bitcoin, we hit a little bit of a level. And let's clean up our chart. In fact, I'll put that one back on. Because if I count this, so again, I feel like this is in the same chart position as Ethereum. So this is wave 1 and 2, and this is 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and potentially we've finished wave 3 of 3 and are in a wave 4. If we look at, sorry, we're looking at ETH again. I'm looking at, meant to do sorry, losing my mind. Okay, here we go. Anyway, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Okay, so, and within, let's put regular candles on. Within this wave 3, we've gone 1, 2, 3. So we've been in this wave 4, if you like. Is it over? Let's take a look at how long this wave 2 took, which was basically 7 days. I think it could be, actually, and I think that we could be in a scenario where our correction is over and we're ready to turn higher again here in ADA. So it is definitely outperforming Bitcoin. It's one of the few that are when Bitcoin takes off. So let's take a look at ADA US dollar tether and see if we've got an entry here, because this again is like climbing a staircase. If we look at each of these previous swing highs, that's where ADA has pulled back to. Had we closed underneath this, or even worse, closed underneath these lows, then we could say we had a trend reversal today in ADA tether, but instead we didn't. We pulled back to exactly this low and the 20 moving average, which is an ideal place for us. The wave 4 of a previous wave is an ideal place for us to carry on higher again. So if we look at how this has unfolded in ADA, we can almost say there were 3 waves here, can't we? It's a little bit messy, so we risk, like Bitcoin, let's take these lines away now. We risk, like Bitcoin, that this is just the first A leg in a bigger kind of A, B, C correction before we go higher again. So if we don't make a new high in ADA, that is the risk. If we do our fib retraces of the drop that we've just done, and you look and see where we are, it's much stronger. It's like Bitcoin. Our first leg was to the 61.8, then we pull back to the 38.2. These are textbook golden ratio zone moves. So 61.8, 38.2, here we go up again. So we can say that our first danger level will be this 786, where we will have a Gartley pattern, and otherwise we can look for a retest of the highs and new highs. So in fact our zone is between 1.1 and 1.12 for resistance here in ADA tether, and then a retest of the highs. Either one of those two levels, we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback from there if we're going to do that. So those are the two resistance levels if we're looking short term. But yeah, no damage to the trend in ADA at all, and ADA is outperforming Bitcoin. So it is one of the ones, unlike ETH at the moment, where I think it is worth putting some Bitcoin into. Definitely, yeah. Okay, let's carry on. Yeah, let me see. Is Link? I can't believe Link isn't on the list. Panadol. I'll try and do it at the end. Okay, so Litecoin. Again, first chart you should look at is Litecoin Bitcoin. Do you want to spend some of your Bitcoin on Litecoin? And I feel like no. The answer is no. If I look big picture, see how these fib levels have worked really well. We got underneath this 786 fib level. It was resistance. It was support initially. When we got underneath it, it was resistance. Whilst we're underneath it and we're retesting these lows, I feel like the path of least resistance is lower to this 886 fib level next, which is at 2922. When we get down to 2922, I think that Litecoin against Bitcoin could be a really good buy, but for now it's underperforming Bitcoin, so it's not my favorite, unlike coins like ADA or Link and so on. I always look at the Litecoin chart, the Coinbase charts for Litecoin, so they seem to have the biggest volume. So when we look at our big highs to lows here, and we look at our pattern in Litecoin, I'll just hide that for a second. My worry here is that if we look at this high to low, my worry here is that we're reversing at a 50% level. And so the rules say if you break this 38.2, you're going to do a full 50% retrace of the entire rally. And that wouldn't be so cool. So major support for Litecoin then at 172. This weekly chart says it's still bullish. You know, we're making big up moves and then we're correcting sideways. Another way to look at this would be just to put our fibs from this high to low again and see if we close underneath that 236 fib. If we do that, then we can say, okay, bigger correction is underway. And although we peered underneath it today, and if you look on the daily, we had a look, we didn't break that 236 fib. So, but the rules are pretty simple. If we do, so if we have a daily close underneath 194, we're probably going to drop to 136. And as long as we stay above 194, in fib terms, this is just sideways correction in an uptrend. I feel like this is, again, this is wave 3. And I feel like we may soon, if we haven't already, completed 5 waves up. So we're going to do that bigger wave 4. It feels a little bit more bearish to me than Bitcoin. And so potentially I would be all out of Litecoin if this 194 broke and wait for that bigger wave 4. We are likely to come back to these prior lows if that's the case. So Lean Sam said in 2018 the corrections averaged 30%. They did. And today's was only 20%. I agree. But I think today is also a subwave rather than a bigger wave 4. And so, but you're right. We could on our, you know, remember corrections are 3 waves. And so we could on our 3rd wave make a new low. We could make a new low. Okay. So yeah, is Litecoin probably going to bounce from here? Yes. Do I like it over Bitcoin? No, I don't, unfortunately. And just because I think it's just got a little bit further to fall. Let's look at short term, this hourly chart. So here's our lovely 236 fib support. You can see resistance, resistance, support, support. So we're holding support really nicely. This first leg really struggled though, and if we look, you know, we're having a harder time rallying than Ethereum. This first leg was to the 50%. That says that your rally is just a correction, not a new uptrend. When you stop 50%, it's not a fib level, it's very often a sign of a correction. So the next swing from here, we're looking for that 786 or that 886 or an ABC correction. So we'll measure the first swing. So we're looking for 214, and above 214.9 we're looking for 228. Maybe a retest of the highs, but 228 might cap us for Litecoin US dollar. It's underperforming. Okay, next one we're going to look at is Ripple. I listened to some of that testimony today with the SEC with Ripple. Do you know, here's the thing, this is like a lottery ticket. Buying Ripple feels like here's the thing, you could be in Bitcoin, but there's no chance there's going to be a sudden settlement with the SEC in Bitcoin and it's going to rip your face off. There is a little bit of a chance that that might happen with Ripple. So, you know, don't invest money that you can't afford to lose, but it has the potential to have one of those funky moves, and once it goes, it'll probably go too fast, so you won't be able to buy it. In fact, by the time the news is out, you should be looking at taking profit. Okay, so if we take a look at this bounce that we're doing, first off, if we look at Ripple Bitcoin, we've got a lovely bullish cross of our daily moving averages, which usually means that we're going to see another leg higher, and we're making a little bit of a bullish flag or pennant here. If we break above this orange trend line, I think there's a good chance that we rally from here up to the 200 moving average and maybe 50% of this whole drop. And that's probably the news trade. So, yes, I think it is outperforming Bitcoin. I think people are anticipating something happening in terms of a settlement. So above 1479. So that would be the first If we break higher here, that would be my first target, 1479, then 2011, and then 2442. We'll just take this most recent swing lower. Okay, so far so good. Let's just look short term. This is an hourly chart of the rally so far. We'll just take this most recent swing, see where we're at, what we're doing here. And again, we're in that 61.8, 38.2 kind of no man's land. So the first place that we know will be going higher is if we can close above 1174, which is this 61.8 level where we seem to have banged our heads in Ripple Bitcoin. Okay, so Ripple Bitcoin looking all right. Let's take a look at Ripple dollar and see how we go here. So let's look at our daily, because there really wasn't much damage today, was there? When you think about it, we were back at highs, making a new high. This is such a typical crypto move where you make a marginal new high, and then the market just comes along and completely slams you. So I think probably in Ripple dollar, this is our A leg or first leg of correction, B leg, and now we're going to do a C leg. So if we look at it on a 4 hour, let's measure where that might bring us back to. This is in a different place too. Okay, so here's our first swing lower. There's that one, and I'm just going to do this as well. Okay, so now we can give ourselves some parameters. If we drop back below 0.54, we will retest the lows at 0.487, and the support, I think, is down here at 0.387. So 2 levels, 0.487 and 0.387 are where, if that breaks, we go down to the next one, and so on. This is looking very toppy up here at 0.649, isn't it? So below 0.54, we're looking at 0.487 and then 0.387. So good luck in Ripple. Expect a bit more correction before we go up again. But it is looking like it's set to outperform Bitcoin. And if that news comes in, then it will take off. Okay, let's look at some Polkadot. Not that one. Not that one. Here's DOT. So if we look at the daily chart of DOT and we'll look at regular candles, you can see we've really been outperforming Bitcoin and having a little bit of a pullback in our uptrend. We made new highs and we stopped at this 1272 extension level. Potentially, we're in a wave 5, I think, clearly, and wave 5s can extend usually much more than we can be liquid. And I'm not sure that this wave 5 is over. I think that we've got one more leg higher, and my target for this next one is 85,522. So a close above 71,065, targets 85,500. This is really bullish, and I think it looks good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, we're in, and 5. So buy the dips in this one. Now, does this look like 3 waves? It doesn't really. I know we had a bounce in the middle, but that bounce in the middle needs to be 3 waves as well, and it doesn't. So there is a little bit of risk here in DOT, just like all of the others, that we're going to do this and then this before we go up again. But because corrections can be funky, we could do this and make a new high, and it could look like this, and so if you just keep buying pullbacks, keep your stop underneath the low and move them up, you will not get into trouble. And Polkadot keeps going up. So this 50% level, look, had been quite a lot of resistance. It's the same pattern as quite a few of these altcoins have made. First bounce was to 50%, 50% back. That tells me that this swing probably isn't the new upswing beginning. And so we'll probably retest this resistance and do this before we go up again. But no doubt about it. For me, DOT's still in an uptrend. DOT Bitcoin still outperforming. And I'm still looking for 85,500. So how about the bounce in DOT US dollar? And these coins that are outperforming Bitcoin, they're the ones, man. You know, you want to be on the fastest horse in a race, and this is it. Now this chart, this is properly ugly, isn't it? Look at where this spike came back to. Bah. And all the way back. So it's almost that you can't trade these coins with stops, can you? Because you're just going to get completely mullered. Now, yeah. So we tagged the daily 50 moving average, tagged the daily 20 moving average. We're all the way back at the highs, you know. This is so bullish. It's really bullish. If we ignore the spike, you know, and we look at each of these corrections. So, in fact, let's look at it on a forex, a bit easier. So, I look for corrections to be about equal. That was just on Kraken, was it? Okay, good. Let's look at a different one. Dot Tether on Binance. Oh yeah, that's better. Thank God for that. Well, why would you be there? So let's, if we put our fibs on all the way from the all-time lows to the all-time highs, we did not break this 236 fib. We're still in a really nice uptrend in DOT Tether and no damage, still going up. So let's put back on those fib projections that I just hid. Okay, we'll leave those on and those ones. Okay, so I've got a big resistance here at 40.45. Each one of these red projections from this first swing have been pretty king. If we can get, for me, that means that if we can get above 40.45, I know I've got a number here at 58, but I'm not so sure of these ones. I'm going to say probably we're going to 63. So remember though, corrections are normally 3 waves, not 100% clear it's done. I think that this one, okay, this one's a bit better because you can see one and then you can see this ABC and then this sharp one. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we made a new high. Mullered. Honestly, I'm showing my age saying mullered, aren't I? Can't believe it. I used to say that when I was at school. Anyway, my dad has said it, I think. I think my dad, it was an expression my dad used. So, okay. So, let's look for a retest of the highs and above 40.45. I think, you know, we've got another 50% upside in Polkadot. Everybody loves DOT. So, but just watch out that we don't do that, you know, ABC thing. So if we can't make a new high, we might do a bit of this before we can go again. Still bullish, but there you go. A lot of these altcoins are in the same position. Somebody said today, oh, now that we've got this pullback, will the real alt season begin? I feel like saying, where have you been? We've been having alt season. This is it, you know. We're in the throes of alt season. It's not going to begin. We've been doing it. So, okay, let's look at Lend. Okay. So I'm going to put my daily chart of Lend. So this is the big support we were looking at. In Lend, I'm going to get rid of this because that didn't work. And the fact that we went all the way down and then didn't close underneath it is pretty positive. I've got support here in lend around 390, 395, and I've got a big upside target at 620. So is our big correction complete with this move here? Certainly could be. Yeah, tagged at 61.8. So potentially we've done one of those corrections where this C leg is 61.8 of the first leg, and we rally again from here. I really like that we've tagged that 4 hour 200 moving average. The 200 moving average really is the king of the chart, so I think there's a very good chance that lend rallies from here and the correction is over. So let's get rid of this. Now I'd like to see it go a little bit further. Hello. Okay, I'd like to see it rally a little bit further to be sure. I'd like to see it above these 4 hour moving averages at least. Another way would be to put fibs all the way on high to low and say if we can get above that 236 fib, we're probably over it, and we are. It looks like we are. So looking pretty good for a completed correction and ready to go up again in lend AAVE. Next one we're going to look at is BNB. Now listen, BNB had a ridiculous day, like one of the biggest moves. And after a big move like that, it really kind of needs to calm down. And it takes a few days. So this big green candle that we had on the 19th of February, this was the biggest ever green candle in BNB. And so I'm going to say that we stay bullish. So for me, this is called a Maribosu candle. So when you have very little shadow either side of this candlestick, this is a daily chart of BNB tether. When you have a big one, 50% of the open close is usually support. Can I go back and do Neo? Yes, I can't believe I skipped it. I will go back. Sorry. I will go back and do Neo next. Okay, so as long as you don't get stuck in the bottom half and you stay in the top half of this candle, which we kind of are doing, it's not perfect, then there's not too much damage to your trend. If we said that, if we take another way to look at it is if you take each swing, and if you kind of ideal pullback for a correction would be 50%, wouldn't it? So from this low to this high, you know, we haven't pulled back more than 50% of this swing. This 50% is at 233, and that's where we're holding on. So I say as long as we sit here, that we are just a pullback in an uptrend and bullish consolidation. But a close below 233 risks a much bigger pattern and the uptrend over. So it was a little bit of a nasty move today, but no damage to the trend in BNB, but just sideways consolidation going on. So it looks like a big correction down. Here's our ABC for our B leg, and ideally they should be, so this is a clear, much more clear kind of corrective pattern going on. And here's then our C leg. So we go high to low like this. And this was a 61.8. So potentially we're all done here in BNB and getting ready to go up again. I'm going to draw it like this. So I really would like to see it above these moving averages and above this orange trend line again. And very often, third touches of trend lines can be false breakouts. So be a little bit careful here. But that for me would say next leg higher underway in BNB. And if we can do that, let me take these fibs away. First target is here at 381. And then second target is up here at 617. So that's BNB tether. Above, I would say, gosh, above 290, 293, next swing up. 382 and then 600. Okay. Let's go and do Connor's Neo. I agree with you about those upside targets. Not only that, but I kind of really like the recovery today that we've had in NEO. It's just not quite. Okay. Let's have a bit of a tidy up. Because this was a little bit of an important resistance level for me in NEO. From this most recent swing lower, that was the 50%. But if we look at the all-time highs to lows, this was the 236 fib at 49. So let's get rid of that one, and we'll just focus on this 236 fib. Because if we can hold above this, then we have made a base, and we are looking up to the 38.2 next. I agree with all of those with you, and 78 and 101. So what we've been doing, it had been really all simple, hadn't it? We had resistance, and then we'd closed above it, and so we were looking for us to pull back and find support from this level, and we haven't. We've got stuck underneath it. Sometimes when you overshoot a level that you shouldn't have, the pattern that you form becomes a head and shoulders pattern. It's the classic pattern of when you go a little bit further than you should have, or breach resistance. So you're not off your head, and we're still going to use this 236 fib level at 49 as our bull bear line. So we're going to be, if we can get back above it again and hold it, we're going to be bullish in NEO, and we're going to look for that big 78 target. But if when we rally back here it becomes resistance and we do this, then you know that topping pattern and what it means. It's a bearish reversal pattern if it breaks. So 49 comes back in as being really important again now that we're back underneath it. If we look at, so our hourly 50 moving average is, if we look at the 4 hour, you know, we're still riding the trend, but that level's key, okay? 49 is still key. If we look at yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say really about NEO Tether. I really need it to hold above 49 for those big targets. I know the weekly close was above it, but you know, we could close underneath it on the monthly and it wouldn't look terrible, would it? So yeah, that's the important thing to watch for NEO tonight then, on this rally, and see how we do. Okay. Next one we're going to look at, sorry I missed NEO, so is UNFI, UNFI. Should be here. I think I looked at it this morning. I haven't some of these really didn't have that much damage at all, did they? Oh, I can't find it. Here's UNFI. Here's one of those ones where, so let me tidy up my messy chart here. Okay, big picture. I think we've made a 1, 2, 3, and we're in a big wave 4. Okay, so we stopped at 2.618 of this correction. That's very common for that to happen. If we measure, this is a 4-hour chart of UNFI. If we measure from this high to low, this pullback has double bottomed very nicely so far at the 50% back. That's also very common place for us to do that, and a really good look. The problem is our 4-hour 200 moving average hasn't caught up. But you know what? I don't care, because I do like how this has bounced. The one thing that I would say about this correction we're in this wave 4 position, you very often tend to make a triangle or a wedge, which would mean that we would do a bit of this before we go up again. So we need to be a little bit careful in UNFI. If we don't break out and we do a little bit of a false breakout, it doesn't turn out into a bigger pullback and we go A, B, C, D, E. That is very common in this position. So the other thing I would say is that these wave 2s and 4s very often are equal in time if they're not equal in price. And so if we did that, that would mean that we wouldn't bottom here until the 8th of March. So where are we now? We're still on the 22nd of February. So we may need to be a little bit patient still with UNFI, but this for me is really, really the major support. So as close as you can buy against it, especially if we got a retest or a little lower high here, that might be a little bit of a gift. So yeah, very nice bounce off a 50% retrace. I like the look of it a lot in UNFI. That's where I think we're going. So, and then when we see our next leg, very often, wave 1 and wave 5 have relationships. So in terms of mathematical, so we should at least retest the highs, but I would say 41 would be a really good next upside target for UNFI. So, if we can buy as close as we can to 18.5 with a 41 target, that would be a very nice return, wouldn't it? So yeah, like it, but we're in that sideways bullish consolidation thing. Next one we're going to look at is Raven. We're going to start with Raven Bitcoin because this is another one. They all have been outperforming Bitcoin, but let's go to the monthly chart. So I need to get rid of that. Hold on. Got all these dots on it as well. For a second, let's hide that. Okay, so on our big rally in Raven Bitcoin, where we completely ate Bitcoin's lunch, we stalled at this first 236 fib level at 434. They're very hard to get through the first time, so I'm not that surprised at all. But we are really overstretched, so we do need some sideways consolidation and let these moving averages catch up before we can continue again. If we look at previous corrections, they're anywhere between 4 and 5 days, and here we are on day 3. So we've got another couple of days of this correction, I think, in Raven Bitcoin before we can go up again. So that's very often means, an extra wave or a bounce. And so, potentially, just like a lot of these alts, we could be have just on our first swing of correction bounce, and we'll need another one before we go again. But Raven coin, in principle, is massively outperforming Bitcoin, and if we can close above 434, we should see way more upside in Raven against Bitcoin. So that's the level really to beat. And then when we do, our targets become up here. Let's put them on the right. 681 and 880. So if we get a nice entry in Raven dollar, so close to this resistance, that should be a very nice pattern. That's what we're looking for. The problem is we're really stretched in Raven Tether as well. Really stretched in Raven Tether. Did we hold where I expected the support to be on this pullback? Yeah, but we're still a long way. Let's hide everything else. We're a long way from this 20 moving average, aren't we? Which usually means some sideways before we're ready to go again and let that 20 moving average catch up. If we go to a monthly, yeah. So I need to put log scale on to count this. Now, I feel like, again, this is a big wave of wave 4. And so we need a little bit more patience before this is ready to go up again. So I would take partial profits in Raven, and I would just give it a few days to just calm down and build a little bit of a base, I think, before we're ready to go again. let's put these things back on. In fact, let's look at these. So if this was our big wave one, let's line it up properly. This 1109, each one of these fib levels, they're like a staircase. So if we can close above, 1109, then if we can close above, 0.2366, next leg up. But otherwise, I do think there's a risk here that we could see a bigger correction if we drop below 0.15. So if we do that, and then we look at this from low to high like this, these fibs, we're already sitting at that 50%, aren't we? I think if that goes, then these previous lows and 0.71 could be where we come back to. This is a really good level to hold support, We could be all right, but... So here's the rule when you do a 50% retrace. You're looking then for 50% going the other way, and then 50% back, and then 50. Mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting until they break out of the pattern. So if we look at this here, we know that this low was 50% back. So now our upside target here is going to be 50% going up, isn't it? Okay, which is here at 0.2215. And then from there, we would expect to pull back 50% of this rally, and it'll get tighter and tighter until it breaks out. So if we continue above 2215, then I would say this ABC correction is probably done, and we are in a new upswing in Raven coin. Does that mean that you can't buy it until it gets above it? No, we can easily buy it above this, before this 50% level on pullbacks, but expect a little bit of jostling around that level, and above it we should keep going. So Raven dollar looks amazing, doesn't it? Does really. If we, I think it's just like made a perfect correction. So I love it. I do like Raven, and I like all of these coins that are outperforming Bitcoin. I think they're worth spending. When it's all about Bitcoin, the ones that are outperforming, I think it's worth spending a little on. But the ones that are not underperforming Bitcoin, let's leave them. Just leave them wait until they bottom and turn around again. So the next one we're going to look at is XLM. Which of course is Stellar. So here's XLM. We're going to take a quick peek. Is XLM outperforming Bitcoin? Yeah, and this is one, look, big 50% back here. I've got high Kanashi candles on, and found support. So it had a huge rally against Bitcoin, and it's now at a level where I think it could find its support and turn up higher again. Nasty doji day here, all the way up, all the way down. So yeah, I would say Stellar maybe. So let's go back and look at that Stellar dollar chart. Okay. So yeah, we can look at buying pullbacks. So big picture on the weekly, if we look from this high to the slow, we reach this 1.618 extension level. They're very often trouble, and so we have been going sideways for a couple of weeks. Where are we in the big counter things? I'm a little bit concerned because from this low I can count 5 waves, and so I think we may be in a kind of bigger wave 4. But I'm not gonna judge as long as we, if we look at these weekly candles and you don't close more than 50% down of this candle, then we're still in an uptrend. Here, we've just pulled back to this daily 20 moving average. So for me, that's still in an uptrend, and this is still just kind of really nice bullish consolidation. If I think that this was our correction, I'm not sure that we haven't got, another leg higher. So I'm going to keep it really simple and say, I keep buying dips, look for it to close above 0.5543, and if it does, then the next upside target for me is 0.88. So that's what I'd be looking for. So yeah, I am looking for Stellar to have another move and start outperforming Bitcoin again. So big bounce today. Let's look short term where we are with this big bounce. Okay, if we look at it like this made a perfect, didn't it? Not quite perfect, but come on. ABC correction. So this swing and this ABC bounce. The second swing was 61.8 of the first one. It's held the lows on the retest effectively, hasn't it? So it's tagged our 4-hour 200 moving average almost. Look what important support and resistance that is. So I think, yeah, we are all set to go higher here in XLM. So when I think I've done an ABC correction, I put my fibs on both swings, not just the most recent one. So if you think it's a 3-wave, you put your fib over both swings. We're above the 236. We've got the 38.2 here, 50. You know, let's just climb our way up the ladder and see how we go. So yeah, good chance that XLM then has actually done a bottom here, and looking good. Cream. Let's quick check to see which cream we're looking at. I'm just going to see, can't see what was requested. Okay, cream. Okay, we'll just look at, we're going to take a quick peek at, yeah, we can't, can we? So, okay, we're just going to look at it against US dollar. So this one's a little bit nasty because we had a double top in this one. Couldn't on the weekly close at a new high. If we look at it on the daily, we had a little kind of false break above it and then came back. The fib level of the overshoot is usually like the 113. So, which is the kind of inverse of the 886. And did we get to the 1272? Yeah, we got to the 1272. Anyway, nasty, pretty nasty pullback. So now we're going to look at our fibs coming the other way, because clearly that was, you know, as soon as you kind of retrace more than that 236 fib, you're in a bigger correction scenario. You can see each one of these fib levels, if they were not support, they were resistance. So this 236 fib was resistance when we back tested it. This 38.2 was support, and then we lost it. This 50% in the middle, which is very often a strong pivot, was support, and then we lost it, and now it's resistance. And now we're back at the 61.8. So remember, it's like a staircase, and in Bitcoin we've just done that 61.8 thing, golden ratio thing. So we're going to look to see if we hold this 61.8, we can get back above this 50% level, which is a bit of a pivot level. If we look left, then we'll go up to the 38.2. What normally you would see is if you can get above it and it's support, you'll go up to the 38.2, then come back to that 50% in the middle before you keep going. So I think I do definitely like today's daily candle for cream. I like this bounce off a 61.8 fib, and I would have my first upside target as 196. And if we can close above 196, I would be looking at 238 next. And then we could start talking about maybe we finish with this correction and we're going up again. It does look like we've got nice 3-wave. It's just, have we finished? Who knows? You know, I don't like that we didn't quite tag the equal measured move level down here at 138. So it may be that we do one more little low in cream before we're done. But I would say for sure, if we close above 199, we're going up again and we are done with going down. So above this resistance will be the most important thing, I think, to say that we're going up again in cream. Okay, the next one is Zilliqa. Okay, I can't believe no one asked for link tonight, actually. Amazing. Okay. Really nice bullish correction and basic attention token today as well, by the way. I'm a quite big fan of that one too at the moment. So here's Zilliqa Bitcoin. Are we going up against Bitcoin? This is a monthly chart. It does look like we are. We're having little pullbacks, but bigger picture, it does look like we've made a bottom since the start of last year, doesn't it? This, again, this big 236 fib, I don't think we're going to make any progress until we can really close above it and 276, that is. So a little bit stuck, but we're definitely holding our own. So there we go. So yeah, if I saw then a setup in Zilliqa dollar, I would probably take it based on that. So let's look at some Zilliqa Tether. All these altcoins just look so. Any other market you'd say, oh, it's really stretched. Be careful. And didn't this one start with a really nice inverted head and shoulders bottom? Okay, so my little concern here with Zilliqa is that I can count 5 ways up, and that always makes me a little bit nervous. So this is 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3, 4, and then this looks like 5. And so we could be potentially correcting this whole big wave 1 done. At the moment, let's see where we've had. At the moment, we haven't had a daily close, believe it or not, underneath this big 236 fib. And in fact, with this really nasty drop down to this 38.2, which basically was ideal support, we rallied all the way back up again. And so we're still holding this. And so, you know, this just keeps the uptrend alive, holding this and the daily 20 moving average. And the problem with counting 5 waves is because of the way wave 3 subdivides, they can just keep going, you know. And so it could be that we are not done at all. From here, though, I would be very careful to see what happens on a retest of the highs in Zilliqa. But yeah, this is a really bullish move. This is a really bullish ABC correction. And so having thought that, you know, maybe we were done here in Zilliqa, it may be that we're not, and we see another leg. And see what I mean? This measure from this high to the low here, perfect textbook equal measured move. Above 0.1257, this resistance here, we should really move higher in Zilliqa Tether. Sometimes if you can't get above it the first time, it'll look a bit like this. So it'll be resistance and you'll retest the lows, and then by the time you retest the lows, that 200 moving average will have caught up, and then you'll be ready to go again. So I would say 0.12572 is quite important resistance, and above it then I'd be excitedly bullish Zilliqa for another go. Mark, he says, how long do I estimate before the Bitcoin correction is over? I will address that at the end. I need to look at the chart. I can't say off the top of my head, because I think this is just a subwave. I think it's only a matter of a few days. I don't think we've started a longer correction yet, but I'm open to it proving me wrong. Okay. So really bullish Zilliqa. Let's look at BSV. Because eventually, you know, all these altcoins have their day in the sun, don't they? Here's the problem with BSV. And and we'll go to the monthly to look. We're at new lows and no sign of a bottom yet. That's the problem with BSV when I look at it. So this is what you call properly topped and tailed. Now that's a really nasty spike in Bitfinex. I'm just going to look at another. Well, you're kind of limited, aren't you? Okay, well, we'll stay with Bitfinex. Actually, let's look at it against Bitcoin again first. So, would you want to be, giving up your Bitcoin whilst this is still going down? Ignore the spike. This is still going down, and no sign of a bottom yet against Bitcoin. Probably not. Now, what do bottoms look like? They look like, double bottoms, triple bottoms, a false breakdown that rallies back and recovers that level. That would be a good look of a bottom. At the moment, we haven't got that. We maybe have a little short-term one here, but it's not quite enough. At some point, though, we will see a rally. I think we can see 5 waves here. I would say, what's the relationship between 1 and 5? Not quite what you want to see. So again, I would say, now I move my level up and say above 0.00431, which was today's high, then yes, I think we are going up, but otherwise the path of least resistance is lower. So today's high becomes really important that we get back above it. And I have to say, no, I still think it's going down. So Bitcoin is still outperforming. How about against the US dollar? Because this has been going up. You're not like losing money, but let's see. This horrible sideways range. Let's look at it with some fresh eyes and a weekly chart without nothing on it. There's just no trend here, is there? Like, here's the thing. You're not losing money badly, but it's not doing it, is it? It's just not. So see this rally? I feel like this is an A, and this was a funky B, and this was our C leg and equal measured move. So this whole rally then becomes corrective, and so now this is our first swing lower, B leg. Now we're looking for another lower. So there is a risk in this one, that we go much lower. I would, if you've got the blowed, look to sell bounces, because I don't see it back above 287 again before we go much lower. Today we've bounced off the 200 moving average, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would say get back to the top of the range. If we could get back up to 232, I'd get out of this one, because I do think it's going to go lower. So try and sell bounces in BSV. Okay, Haven. Okay. Have you guys with Haven got your Haven wallet yet? I have to say, I think it's really cool. But we've had a bit of, this is RSR. That had a bit of a bad day today, didn't it? If you haven't got your Haven wallet, you should try it. Now, this one really isn't going down against Bitcoin or up. We've been in this wedge really for 10 months. When did we start? No, not that long. The good news about it is I feel like it's a big correction, and then we are going to start another big move higher in Haven. It's just about when is it going to be over. And when the thing with these big wedges is, I always say don't diddle in the middle, because you can get in all sorts of trouble. If we look at, fibs, it's really a big golden ratio zone thing. If I look at them on the weekly, I know this is frustrating, but here we go. So if we look at from this low to this high, if we say that this is our golden ratio zone in the middle, it's between the 61.8, it's really been widened out here. So we're really doing that 786. 236 thing. Here's our zone, back and forward in it. It's all corrective. We've had our big rally. Here's our pullback. We are just getting ready to go again, but not yet. So if we look within at these fib levels, some of these are important support. So here, for example, the daily 50 and this 61.8 level at 11,977 is one of those important support levels. So we are almost back to it. And then on the upside here, this is also an important support level here between 18,000 and 18,150 and 18,800. It's a little bit of a mixed. So I would be quite excited if we could bounce and not close below 1197. Let's look at it on a daily. So far today, a doji, not really a bullish reversal we want to see. If I look at it on the hourly, haven't really broken our hourly moving averages. And whilst we haven't quite tagged this level, there's always that risk that we're going to do one more push and go down and test it. But I am looking for a bullish reversal around here in Haven. Now, we could do this and say, it kind of did look good, didn't it? This was a very nice ABC correction. It may be that we rally from here and we don't quite touch that. How would we know? I would say if we get above the 236 fib again. We're going back and forward at it, aren't we? I think that potentially, having done this ABC correction, we could actually see a really nice rally in Haven from here. If you haven't traded Haven, it's very thin. If you're a whale and watching this and you think you're going to do a big size, any kind of big size, you will be the market. Be very careful. I've had trouble buying amounts in Haven before, and kind of have to wait until everybody's selling and then buy as much as you can while they're not looking, because otherwise you do move the market. So nice bottom though in Haven, and a good place to rally from. I think we could be done going down, so this is not a good place to chuck in the towel, let's put it that way. Here or a little bit lower we should see a rally. Hello Sarah, crypto. I might have time. I don't know how we'll go. Let's see how I go. Next one we're going to look at is NPXS. So, which I think is Pandy or Pundy. Pandy, isn't it? Pundy. NPXS. Okay, let's look at it. I just want to check it against Bitcoin. Is it going up against Bitcoin? Yes, it is. So that's past that check. I hate these ones, by the way, with really low little numbers, because they make really, especially against Bitcoin, they make really weird looking candles, and because they're such small fractions, aren't they? So yes, Pundy is going up against Bitcoin. That's a good look. Let's take a look at it against the US dollar and Tether, because then we don't have those really small fractions. So when we looked at this in my group, I think it was this morning or last night, we said that this is really important resistance at 30,800, and unless we can close above it, we could see a bit of a nasty correction here. If we look at what we have done today though, it doesn't seem to care, and it potentially, we are about to close above it. So I'm not suggesting that you pump. No, I'm not suggesting that you pump it. Of course not. I'm just saying it's a very thin coin. You can pump it if you want. Good luck getting out. Okay. So if we can hold above this zone, then happy days. 30,800 then becomes support, and my next upside target in this one is all the way at 44,800 to 48,000, I think. So Pundy, where we close on the week though will be quite important. So let me put these on the left because they're my important ones that are working. Okay, 30,166. That's the one to watch. So, yeah, really super strong. And Pundy didn't care much about today. It's all the way back up again. So, yeah, new highs for Pundy. Eating Bitcoin's lunch as well. So good luck in that one. And make sure we stay above that 30,000 level. And this isn't a false break higher. Okay, next one we're going to look at is APY. Let's save this one. APY governance token. So let's start with the daily chart. Because this has been brutal, this pullback. Now, let's much more than you would want it to normally. So we're going to go from those lows to the highs, and where we bounce from, you see, tells us where we might go next. So we haven't reached this 786 fib. Let's look at this swing though. This is a 786 fib. And our first swing bounced above the 61.8. So here's like my little fib rules. I'm looking for another swing higher in this one. And it should take us to the 38.2, which is up here. So we're looking, this is A, and here's our pullback, B, and now we're starting our next swing, and our target up here is in APY is at 0.002634. So that's what I'm looking for. And that'll be a kind of funky ABC for APY, and it'll do that fib trick. And then we see what happens after that. But that's where we would be looking. So this is an hourly chart, okay? It's before you get, short term. So big ABC down, ABC up, and then potentially we have another push lower again before we finish. So these are short term moves, but yes, I think APY should rally from here for another leg up. Okay, GRT. GRT Bitcoin. So we looked at this this morning. This, again, another one that had a really nasty day, but has held support really nicely. So it's held support of the daily 20 moving average against Bitcoin and has been outperforming Bitcoin. So this is exactly, plus a retest, a perfect retest of these previous highs. So this is exactly one of those levels where we could resume the uptrend from in GRT Bitcoin. So would I be looking for opportunities? Yeah, I think we are set to outperform Bitcoin again. This first swing stopped here at 48.57. This next swing, should we turn up again, we should retest 48.57 and then 73.88 against Bitcoin is my next target. So let's look at how we look then against the US dollar, because this move today tagged really nice support and should be turning up again. So was this really nice support? I've got it calculated by TradingView, sorry. Sometimes it's easier. So 50% back, ideally, was where I would like to see this get tagged. And that's exactly where we came back to. So 50% of this swing. Very nice. Let's measure our corrections. And we're holding this 61.8 level. So there's room for it to go lower. But I think, well, whilst we're back above 194, it looks pretty good. So, yeah, there's lots to like that this is done with the correction. I think GRT, US dollar, is another one that could well be finished and on the way back up again. I'm going to put, remember, when you've got an, if you think it's an ABC, put your fibs on both ones. So key for me will be this 50% here and this hourly 200 moving average. I'd really like to see it holding above 2.224 to say that we're going up. So yeah, looking pretty good. Nathan Parrish says there's a scam going on where a channel impersonating Binance is scamming people to give them coins. Yeah, the double back things. Okay. You know, there is no free money in crypto or anywhere, really. There isn't. There's so much of it. It really makes me angry. I'm just going to go back and... Okay, thank you for that, Nathan. So let's go down and look low time frame at this Bitcoin recovery. I think I can't. I'm just going to scoot back and see. KCS M Cox says, and I think somebody asked for Phil. I haven't really got a lot of time, but I will take a quick look at KCS for you. And I just wanted to see how, if we were still creeping higher in Bitcoin, and we are, this hourly 20 moving average would be quite a nice thing to beat next, wouldn't it? Looking good then. Still creeping higher in Bitcoin, back towards our target around 5,000, 56,000. So, yay. Okay. I said I would look at one KCS. All right then. No, remember, be careful. This clearly for me in Bitcoin is just the first swing. We need 3 corrections, really are 3 waves, normally like this, but sometimes they're a bit funky, like, like this one. And so, yeah, you can, if you're looking at this and you got stopped out and you didn't buy any back, and you're looking and you're thinking this is a disaster, please don't. It will give you a pullback entry. You will get one. You just have to stalk it. And okay. Sarah Crypto, I'm going to do Phil and KCS, okay? Imran says, can we check Matic as well? Okay, I felt like kind of, and I know it's, I felt like Matic kind of reached an important high, actually. So I will mention Matic here. Let's take a quick peek at that. Okay, this big 4.236 fib level in Matic at 0.17 was one of those kind of big pause levels, and I think that, but we've come back to where I would have looked for it for support today. Anyway, the problem with Matic is, like all of them, let's look at this 4 hour. Oh no, actually the Matic could be done. This looks like we've made a correction and we could be on our way back up again in Matic. So I don't believe that it's going down to 17, no, or whatever. But this is important resistance. If we close above it, so if we can hold above 0.19, the next upside target in Matic is 0.28. So yeah, no, I think this is a very nice correction complete and about to give us a nice 4 hour buy, actually. If you miss it, I like buying 15-minute pullbacks. But no, Matic really does look like it's ready to go again. But you're only going to be out of danger above 0.19. Ren is breaking out of a W. Well done. Good. Ren's a nice coin as well, isn't it? So I'm going to look at KSM and Phil before I go. And okay, so we liked GRT today, didn't we? KSM. So there are a few getting ready. Alt season's not over, but all these people are saying, when's it going to start? Like, where have you been? Okay, first off, KSM. Is it outperforming Bitcoin? Yeah, it's absolutely smashing Bitcoin to pulp. Yes, so you do. It is worth spending some of your Bitcoin on KSM. But let's look at our fib levels and what they mean. Because clearly, looking at this, they have been getting reactions. Especially this 38.2 and this 236 was support. And so we've stopped here at a 786. That's going to be the next level at KSM Bitcoin to close above if we're going to see our next leg higher. So 52.18. And we're only going to be bearish and trend over if we close below 44.53. So now after a big up day like this, an ideal place for a pullback would be 50% of the open close, something like that. Maybe these previous highs might be quite a shallow pullback in KSM. And just 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd be very careful this doesn't turn into a bigger correction. So for me, you know, each time I got to one of these big fib levels, I would take partial profits. So KSM may be about to have Bitcoin take a run and outperform it for a bit. Let's see if we look at KSM Tether, if we're also at a big resistance level. Yikes, look at this. I wonder which KSM I was looking at before, maybe. I thought I had my charts marked for this one, and I don't. Okay, never mind. We can cope. So when you want to know, are my fibs working? You look at, did they have a reaction? Were they support, 2 points, our resistance, and this here, 4.23, with support, resistance. So we're still going up. And where's that next one? 1109. Yeah, I think we've got more upside in KSM to go. And 3.23 would be where I'd be looking for next. I'm just going to pop the 4 out on. So yeah, keep buying the dips and look for that. 323, 324 next. It's not a buy right here, is it? It really does need a pullback. But if you've already got some KSM, I think it's got further to go, and this is not a top. Okay? Phil. Was it Phil? We were talking about Phil. File, I can't remember. Sarah Crypto. Hello. File. So let's take a look at it against Tether on the daily. Because okay, this is one of those funky charts where I'm going to ignore the spike and I'm just going to do from the bounce. So this was the high of the bounce, this was the low of the bounce, and here we stopped at this 50%, couldn't make it to the 61.8. That's always a risk because, well, mean reverting, keep mean reverting, so you'd be looking for 50% back, and if we're lucky, that's what we tagged today and we're bouncing from. Oh, we actually went a little bit further, didn't we? Oh, I like this quite a lot because we've bounced back above that 50% level. So this is a kind of the parameters, isn't it, of our range. If we close underneath this 50, we're probably dealing a bigger move down, and if we close back above this 50%. This way, we're in the next swing up. If we're going to do a bit of wave counting, I think we did 1, 2, 3, 4, and this was 5. And this big 3 wave back means that the next swing higher should be that really strong wave 3. We've done wave 1 and this correction is over. So that makes it quite exciting trying to get a nice long entry in fill here. So here's our ABC correction finished. Look, very nice. Yeah, very nice equal measured move here, almost to the tick down here. Look at 32.55. We're back above this 61.8 level. I really like fill tether, and we should see really strong upside movement when we get outside of this congestion area for the next leg up in fill. If people don't, I think this is the one that's cloud storage, isn't it? Decentralized blockchain cloud storage. So exciting stuff. Love fill. Think this should be a bottom, yes. Even if it's not, and this is just a sideways range. If you buy the bottom and you sell the top until it breaks out, you're never going to get into too much trouble. So love fill. Okay, good night everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Hope you have a good week. Be careful in this volatility. You know, it's so easy to get chopped up and really make a hash of it. If you get stuck in a downswing, a really nasty downswing, just close your eyes and wait for it to start going up again. And if you really want to, can't bear it, you know, then when it starts going up, put a stop under the low and trail it up. But selling the lows and then watching it rip in your face like this is horrible. So just remember that next time it's going down and you think it's never going to stop. Okay.